The Dallas Cowboys, America's team.
Just Us Radio presents the Star Chronicles.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!
And goal.
Elliott into the end zone.
Welcome back to the Star Chronicles Dallas Cowboy Football Talk Podcast, Episode 6. A lot of excitement going on. A big victory by the Dallas Cowboys last week, 35-17 over the New York Giants. I'm here with my co-host for the evening, Lisa. Ron, a.k.a. the Starstruck Fan, is out for this week anyway. She's on special assignment. But we have Lisa here. So how are you doing today, Lisa? And let's get started with the show here. So what's up?
It's always good when the Cowboys win. Life is much better and more tolerable when the Cowboys win.
Yes, but I did see on your social media feed that you were a little unhappy after that first series.
Oh, gosh. It's like we talked about.
I told you what was going to happen.
It had that feeling of the slow start, but in this game, the slow start only lasted like half of a quarter versus a half of a game. And it had terrible feelings.
Oh, yes. I mean, it looked very, very familiar at first, but I just kind of chalked it up to just being typical Cowboys, just starting off slow first game of the season. I mean, you also got to take in consideration that, during preseason, we did see a lot of depth and we saw like a lot of good things from a lot of players, but at the same time, starting off with the regular season, a lot of these players didn't even play or participate really in preseason. So and
it was weird because I was kind of like torn because the offense seemed to, they moved it pretty well. And then it just obviously, it stalled out. We weren't in the red zone yet, but, we had to punt. And I think I was more, I had a little more anxiety over the defense, seemed to just get gashed. And that took me back to the Rams playoff game, because I went into the Rams playoff game just wondering if our offense could keep up and score enough. And then in reality, it was our defense that really got just,
exactly
hammered.
Right. You're exactly right.
So, excuse me, in the Giants game, it had that same feel in the beginning. And I get it. Saquon he's one of the best at what he does. But wow, even Eli, I mean, in the first quarter, even Eli looked decent.
Yeah. I mean, Eli didn't not look as bad as I anticipated he was going to end up being. But, I mean, back to the Rams, that last playoff game, you're exactly right. Because, like, with me, the defense was the last of my concerns. I thought the defense was going to straight punch him in the mouth. But, and that was basically the outcome of the game right there. In my mind, one of the largest deciding factors on why we lost. But let's go back to now. I mean, Dak Prescott, very, very impressive. 25 or 32, 405 yards, averaged 12.7 yards per pass, 4 TDs, and what was it, a 158 quarterback rating? Which is like perfect.
158.3, yeah.
So, I mean, are we at the point now where I've never said anything ill will towards Dak? I mean, just accept that he wasn't quite where I wanted him to be, but I never completely threw him up underneath the bus like others have. Is it time that we all say, pay Dak?
For sure. I mean, and I even said in my last social media post was back the Brinks truck up and just unload it, because I mean, here's my thing about that. Okay, so a lot of the haters are still there and they're like, hey, settle down. It's just one game. I understand. But if you put it in context of his entire body of work, if you put him in that, like let's say you're looking at Aaron, you're not going to base Aaron Rodgers ranking in your, quarterbacks of all time, or, the quarterbacks in the league right now, even. You're not going to look at the game on last Thursday night when, I mean, both teams were hot garbage, and you're not going to say, well, Aaron Rodgers, now he's not the best in the league anymore because he was terrible one night. You don't. You look at the entire body of work. And I think, what Dak did the other day on Sunday, he did what good quarterbacks are supposed to do. If you're considered in that good to great quarterback bucket, you're supposed to beat teams like the Giants. And people are discounting it, saying, well, it was just the Giants. Fair, but okay, what about, Matt Ryan? A lot of people would have said Matt Ryan was better than Dak going in. And he, stunk up the whole room on Sunday.
Exactly.
So good quarterbacks do what good quarterbacks are paid to do. And he did that. Obviously, he hasn't been paid yet, but I was super impressed with everything about his, not just the technical part of it, his demeanor. He just looked like he was having a good time. And obviously it's easier to look like you're having a good time when you're winning the brakes off of your opponent.
Yes, exactly. I think the thing I was impressed about the most is just how much the ball was spread out. We had 7 different players with receptions: Gallup, Cooper, Cobb, Jarwin, Witten, Elliott, and even Austin. He had a catch. So I was just completely happy with just the way the ball was spread out amongst the team. I'm not 100%. I would have liked to see like a little bit more running, just for a little more balance, because the running and the passing was still kind of skewed a little bit. But that's I guess that's more like a long-term thing going further into the season.
Yeah, and I think it had a lot to do with because Zeke didn't get into the mix until so late in the game planning process. I feel like that percentage will shift. But what that game on Sunday did is it opens it up for the run.
Yes.
Because they can't load the box. They can't put 8, 7 or 8 in the box anymore and hope that Dak doesn't throw it like he needs to. That showed him, if you leave that open, you are exposed. And the chemistry's there between Dak and the receivers. The communication between, Kellen and Dak seems to be good. The chemistry, I was just...
Yeah, and there's an overall level of confidence with Dak too now, because he is throwing people open. He's not second guessing that pass and holding on to the ball too long. So a lot of people that saw all these video clips of players open, which I saw the same videos too, you're not going to see that this season, I don't think. Because that was some of the evidence that people would have to say that Dak was trash. Because, look at all these guys open and he's not throwing it to them. Well, you're not going to see that this year because he has a way higher level of confidence. He's getting rid of the ball quicker, and I just think it's just going to get better and better for Dak.
Well, and I think it helps too because his offensive line is back and they're all healthy and there's no, there's no holes. I think Zach struggled a little bit but I think that goes back to what you said. And, he for sure didn't play any of the preseason games, but he hadn't even practiced that much either.
And the funny thing is about Zach too, is they had some statistic showing all the linemen at 100% because we didn't give up any sacks or anything. And the only weak chain in the link was Zach Martin at 88% out of all the other linemen. Now, I'm not 100% sure how they figured out these numbers, but yeah, I think to me that's just funny.
Did you hear Joe and Troy when they were talking about, when that first holding penalty was called on Zach? They said that he had only had 3 penalties in the last 3 years called on him.
Yes.
I was like, that's incredible when you think about the number of snaps, and
yeah, because Tyron Smith still gets plenty of penalties in a season.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think too, Dak does some of the stuff we saw in preseason. Dak just looks really comfortable. He's calm. Those are the intangibles that you can't measure that are going to also contribute to him getting paid.
Exactly. And if you're a quarterback, and you got a plethora of talent, we all know that he didn't have nothing to really throw to last season anyways. Of course your demeanor is going to be a little more relaxed and stuff, so hats off to Dak Prescott on a wonderful first game of the season, and I definitely hope it continues on going into next week against the Redskins. So, what are your thoughts on the receiving core in general? Isn't it lovely just seeing this compared to beginning of last season?
It's like Okay, so and maybe we talked about this. I can't remember if we all talked about this in the group chat during the game. I think maybe we did. How have the Cowboys ever had 3 100? Well, we didn't have 3. We almost had 3 100-yard receivers in a game.
Not that I recall. No.
Wow! And I tell you what, the one that impressed me the most, and I don't know if it's the most, if that's the right phrase, but the one I was like, praise the Lord, he is on our team, is Randall Cobb.
Yeah. No, he was
I
very
just hope
impressive.
he can stay healthy. He was good.
One play where he fought for those extra yards.
Oh,
I was like Randall effing Cobb.
Yeah. Me too. I was like, get off me. I mean, wow. I was so impressed by him, and just, I don't know. Did you see the clip? I saw it on Twitter this morning of Amari on the sidelines talking to, I think he was I know he was for sure talking to Michael Gallup, and I think Randall Cobb was on the other side of him. And he said, we all got to eat. That's the way we get to the playoffs and beyond, is if we're all eating.
Exactly.
And I love that. Like, he's like, with everything that's gone on in the last, 10 days with Antonio Brown, I mean, exhibiting the diva of all divas in, wide receiver history, then you have Amari, who, will get a new contract, hasn't been in the discussions, is killing it on the field, and talking about spreading the ball around.
Exactly. I mean,
it's like the anti-diva.
Yeah, in this day's NFL, you definitely don't hear about that often. I was really impressed with Michael Gallup too.
Yes.
I mean, it's hard to believe that he's just in his second year right now. I mean, 7 receptions for 158 yards. It's just very, very impressive, and it's just like, seems like he stepped things up. His route running is a lot better. He seems like a lot more crisp. I mean, he doesn't seem as lost out there anymore.
I agree with all of that. I think it also helps having those other two in their role, because especially, and he got better, at the end of last year once Amari got here. And now that he's got there's 2 other options. Defenses are going to have to pick their poison now. They're going to say, okay, are we going to double Amari? Well, then they've got these other 2 beasts, and I will say beasts, because those 3 guys right there played.
No, I'm definitely, you already know I'm funny about using that type of terminology.
I know.
But damn it.
But to have, it may not carry over, but for that one particular game, I can use that phrase, but like, the defenses are, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to game plan for this team.
Exactly.
And I'm not, it's not going to be perfect like that every week.
No,
I get
of course not. But I mean, here's other things. You still got Blake Jarwin out there, and you got Jason Witten.
Oh, how amazing was it when Jason Witten scored that touchdown? And I mean, like, the whole team is running to him. I mean, it was, I just love it. I was so happy about that. Yeah. And then Blake Jarwin, I feel bad. I don't feel bad for the Giants.
Yeah. But I mean, Blake Jarwin, I think he was definitely coming on strong towards the end of last year. And I do think it might regress just a little bit because you got Witten in there. So it might be a little bit less for him. But I still at the same time think at the terms of leadership and the things, little tips and techniques you can pick up from Jason Witten going forward is definitely going to end up having him to be, I'm not going to say top tier tight end in the league, but I can definitely tight end is going to be serviceable and somebody you don't want to let go off your team.
He definitely seems to be the heir apparent to that spot.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what's his other guy's name? Dalton Schultz. Is he still injured?
I believe so.
Okay. All right, and then Elliott, he also had a catch also out of that for 10 yards. I believe that was a screen play.
Yeah.
That always looks lovely with him on screenplays. You just never know.
He played, and that could bust open. He's. I mean, I don't think he's as explosive from the jump as like Saquon, but I think Zeke is a lot more patient and he's just waiting. Like he can be
Yes.
right up on, one of the linemen's hips and just waiting for it to, that one lane to just come open for him to just, take off. But I thought he played well, even with his limited role.
Yes. Well, let's touch on that. And I will agree with you on the Elliott thing. I mean, because I think, God, I don't think I've ever seen him more of a patient runner, than him. Not within the last 10 to 15 years. Anyways, I've just never seen somebody that's so patient, like a snap of a finger, he could be gone.
Yeah.
And then also he's hurdling over somebody. But yeah, let's look at the running backs real quick. Okay, Elliott, 13 carries, 53 yards, 4.1 yards carry, 1 touchdown. Which, I mean, in reality, I saw people in social media commenting saying you need to go out there and earn that money now. But if these fans actually knew, Emmitt Smith doesn't really, or not Emmitt Smith, Zeke Elliott doesn't do much the first game of the season anyways. I mean, he doesn't practice really in preseason, and he rarely takes a carry in preseason.
Well,
so
it's
I don't really understand what the big
uproar is. It's
is.
interesting because if they look back at this is now his 4th season. Okay, well, he averages in his first 3 games, he averages almost exactly that stat line that you just read off. And then in week 4, then it goes from an average of 62 yards per game to then it bumps up to 130. It's just him getting going because he hasn't played in any of the preseason games.
Yeah, you're not going to see Elliott full form probably until New Orleans.
Ooh.
You might see that, and that's when we're really going to need it. Let's look at Tony Pollard for a quick moment because, same carries, only 24 yards, 1.8 yards per carry. Now, my opinion is I think he's great. I think he's going to be good, but everybody was tapping on the brakes, talking about a little baby goat in the process. And you guys need to tap the brakes on that right away.
Well, I think it was a tough place for him to be in because he had been the feature back. And then, to only be coming in on, which ironically enough, to come in on 3rd downs or, to spell, to give Zeke a break or whatever, that's what he was used to at Memphis. But I think it was a different, he had to check his emotions and stuff. I think it was a hard thing for a rookie to be in, but I was kind of surprised that they didn't utilize him a little more.
I would have loved to see them use them in a screen. And I don't think we're not going to see both of those players on the field probably for still a few, 3 or 4 probably weeks with them both in the backfield at the same time. Because, in reality, excluding maybe New Orleans, we're not going to need to see both of them in the backfield and stuff the next 2 weeks. We're just not. And I don't know. I like Pollard. Don't get me wrong, but I had friends asking me, "Oh, you got any highlights or anything from him? I wanted to see how he did." I'm like, man, don't blink because there really wasn't any. He had he had one nice run over 5 yards. Everything else was just 1 yard, 2 yard.
Well, and he's a rookie. Rookie running backs are. It's with it. There were some, on other teams that played well this past weekend, but you're playing where the lights are definitely the brightest, and you weren't even a feature back in college, so. Give a guy a little bit of. I don't think he played bad at all.
Oh no, I don't think he was terrible. I just think
it's just different.
Yeah, I just think we just need to tap the brakes just a little. Well, I'm not going to say I thought he was great in preseason, but then again, at the same time, I wasn't anointing him like the second coming of Emmitt Smith neither.
Right.
So that was a lot of social media.
Sure.
Anything else on the offensive side? Oh yeah, of course. Let's talk about Mr. Moore there. First go at it as offensive coordinator. What was your overall thoughts and opinions on him?
Yes, I was just all the way around. We should have. Then it frustrated me a little bit because I feel like last year was kind of a wasted year. My opinion is that
I agree.
Last year was kind of a wasted year when you could have gotten rid of Linehan before, but I didn't realize that there was a lot of way back ties with Jason Garrett and Linehan. I guess Linehan gave Garrett his first coaching job, and I didn't realize that. So,
but here's the funny thing about it: the sets and everything basically was identical in a lot of respects to last season. The only difference is that you're running way more play action, and you're running a bunch of motion. That's really the big difference out of everything.
Well, but I think with the personnel that you have, the sets almost have to be the same. But there was a lot of pre-snap motion.
Yes.
Dak seemed to have a lot more leeway to change plays, and I don't care what anybody says about the opponent. They're all professionals.
Exactly.
And it's the same way. Like, if we go out and we barely beat the Giants, then it's like, wow, y'all barely beat the Giants. But then when we blow them out, it's like, it's just the Giants. Okay,
exactly.
Well, they're all professionals. And to beat, New Orleans struggled with Houston last night. And Houston's a good team. I'm not taking anything away from that. But there were a lot of teams that stumbled out of the gates. Look at the Green Bay and Chicago game.
Yep,
that was like watching paint dry.
And it's like the current state of the NFL, because nobody really practices worth anything during preseason. I mean, you don't have 2-a-days, you don't have anything, you got days off, and nobody's practicing anymore. Nobody's hitting anybody.
And that was the thing. I think that was my biggest takeaway from the game, for all the ins and outs and X's and O's. The fact that we actually didn't have an entire game. Like, that game for us, it was what it should have been. Like, they were who we thought they were, And it's like, we should have beaten them. Like, even in my opinion, the 18-point differential looks to be closer than it actually was. That game was over in the second quarter, early third for sure.
Yes.
But it's like, just that the fact that that tells me something is different with the exact same personnel pretty much. Obviously there's some new addition, Randall Cobb and now Amari's been here, but he's going to be here for a whole season. But just the fact that we started off pretty quick, like it made me feel like, okay, the tone is different. It's different.
Yes. I mean, even though that first series, both sides of the ball was a little rough, old Cowboys, even last season's Cowboys, it would have been 2 or 3 series for them to get things going. So it definitely is encouraging in that standpoint. Before I hop into defense, I want to go across the injuries that I know of before we go into defense, before I forget. Zach Martin did sit out part of the second half of the game. No kind of concern, was more of a precaution. We were killing the Giants. Jeff Heath has a couple injuries he's dealing with. Supposedly not that big of a deal. The only concern I have right now is Randall Cobb has like a lower rib issue. They're kind of like monitoring that as days go by. So like you mentioned earlier about questioning his health, he does have like a lower rib injury right now. But I'm assuming he's going to work through it and play, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, Jason Garrett said yesterday the biggest win coming out of week 1 was that they came out with no significant injuries, where as of right now, nobody would have to miss any time.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and hop into defense. Defense outside of the first. Let's just go ahead and just forget about the first drive or the first series. It stunk, but they definitely got back on track. Xavier Woods, we've talked about him several times on our program. Xavier Woods for real now? Leading tackles.
Yeah,
9 solo tackles.
He wasn't ever a question. He was never a question of for being for real for me. He is one that will. Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, no, it's the consistency I think everyone had an issue with. And with maturity and getting used to game speed and everything, things start tightening up if you take things seriously. I think this particular individual is certainly doing that. I'm definitely happy he's on the team. Leighton Vander Esch, 10 tackles, 9 solo tackles, and a half
he's
sack.
Fast.
That guy is all over the place.
Okay,
I think
did Sean Lee even play?
I'm looking at the stats. I saw him on the field.
Okay.
He had 1 solo tackle, but it's like my eyes was never even focused on him once.
And that's what the announcer said. When you're talking about how good your linebacking core was for the day, and you really haven't mentioned Sean Lee's name, you're in a good space. And I think I like the way they play. They feed off of, I'm talking about Jalen and Leighton, just kind of feed off of each other, and they've got that bond, and they're communicating, and they're fast. I think
Yes, they
Jalen
are.
kind of overshot the runway on a couple where he just blew right past somebody. And I just chalked that up to that's just first game being amped, super over amped. And you just got to get out that, that'll, and it did for him. He settled way back in and was, for the first time, and we're even missing, like, Robert Quinn will be back in 2 weeks, like week after, this will be the
week after.
It's wow.
Yeah, things are looking up. Were you shocked that Taco wasn't activated for the game?
Kind of, mainly because Robert Quinn is out, but he's kind of had that nagging. I don't know if it's a calf or an ankle or what it was that he was dealing with at the end of in that one preseason game.
True, but let's also acknowledge that he did have a good season, specifically those last that was in the third game. Is that enough to say, like, okay, we're going to put him on the shelf and he might be possible trade bait? I mean, that's what me and Starstruck has talked about. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if he was traded.
Well, it wouldn't me either, but for what? I mean, what do you need right now that you would want to? And by shelving him, okay, yeah, the last bit of tape that they had was at the end of the preseason, which probably was the best football he's played since he's been here. But I would think you would want to try to get him some more game film. I guess you run the risk that he's going to go back to old Taco and be, not great again, and then his value will go down. But
yeah, it makes me wonder: is it one trade or two? Is it still like that? Those maturity issues that they had with him before?
Well, I don't know. I didn't even look at the details to say why. Was he a healthy scratch?
Yes.
Oh. Yeah.
So, I mean, it just really just makes you wonder. But, I mean, I would like to see him play further, especially if he's going to perform and take it serious, like in that dress rehearsal game. I guess we need to talk about Jeff Heath a little bit, 9 tackles, 7 solo tackles.
He played well.
I mean, he played well. I still don't think he's a beast. And I thought for certain that when they threw that the Hail Mary into the end zone, I thought for certain he was going to tip that ball down into the Giants
he almost did,
receiver's
for
hand.
Sure.
It was very, very close.
But I mean, this is the thing with him. Like, he will have a game like that where he is just all over the place and just killing it. And then, like, you may not hear his name at all on this coming Sunday. He's just real up and down. And even within the game, he'll have a moment where he looks like he's a certified badass. And then 2 plays later, you're like, what in the world? Like, where did that even come from? Like, where's that certified badass that we saw 2 plays ago? Or, he's real up and down like that. But, week 1, I felt like he played pretty well.
Yeah, I can't complain. What do you think about the secondary overall, excluding Woods? I'm talking about the cornerbacks. It seemed like they got put out of place a couple of times, but other than that, I thought they're all around across the board weren't bad.
Well, and some of those, over the middle where they got, it might be a 6-yard, slant that broke for 40. A lot of that was the linebackers in a mismatch, but I thought Cheeto was in good position a lot of the time, and especially because Cheeto will be the one. Cheeto and Byron, though, I thought they all played really well, pretty well. I mean, there are going to be moments where they catch you slipping.
Exactly, but the thing is and stuff, I'd rather have them playing press up on the guy and take that chance and might not be able to knock the ball down versus them giving the guy like 7 yards,
I agree.
Space.
Yeah.
And then get burnt. That really drives me nuts.
Well, because it's almost like you're tapping out before the play even happens. Like, okay, yes. I'm going to give you 7 yards, and hopefully I can tackle you before you get the other 3, or whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Or hopefully you'll drop it. Or maybe it'll be a bad pass. Mm-hmm. I just want them up on people.
Yeah, playing more smash mouth. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I think we got the personnel to do it. I mean, yeah, granted, sometimes you're not going to be able to cover everything. Sometimes, there's going to be a slip up somewhere down the line.
But I do think,
I mean,
too, it goes back to your theory that we've talked about last year or year before last, was when you're getting, and the front seven really didn't get, a ton of sacks like they had in the past, especially against the Giants. But when when that pocket for the, like for Eli was collapsing, it makes Byron and Cheeto's job, and even I thought Jordan Lewis played pretty well too when he was in, and yeah, it makes their job easier, and
yeah, and let's to the new listeners, let's go ahead and say what the theory is. My theory is that there's no corner in the league that's designed to cover anybody for what was it, more than 6 seconds or something like that. Because when you do that, if you're not getting no defensive push on the line, I mean, you're just kind of just leaving. I mean, you're talking about the island or whatever. You're leaving these guys out on the island and try and follow this guy around, chase him back and forth, running across the field back and forth. And I mean, you just opened the door for error. So with some pressure against the quarterback from the defensive line, it's definitely going to make the corner's job easier. Especially if the quarterback only has like 3 or 4 seconds to make a decision.
Yeah, and you saw that a lot last night. I know you don't watch a lot of other games that are not, but like Deshaun Watson, for as good as he is athletically, there were times where legit he would take his drop and turn. He hadn't even, it may be 2 seconds before somebody was in his face. And he just, he got rattled and he threw a pick. But that's the same kind of thing. Even if you're not getting the full sack, but you're making the quarterback have to make a decision a lot quicker than he would have normally. The cornerbacks are going to be, it's going to be easier for them to.
Exactly. I'll take the 10 pressures over the 3 sacks any day. I mean, it's just like another one of those things. Like, well, they actually, they call them pressures and everything now, but still, it's kind of like an unquantifiable thing. Still at the end of the day.
Did you find yourself holding your breath every time? And there'd be an extra point needing to come, I'd be like, oh no, please, with the kicker.
No, not this time. I was just happy that I'm just happy that we never were put in a situation to have to try and kick 3 points. So I mean, extra points, that happens sometimes. Well, sometimes it seems like with him way more often, but still, I'm just happy we weren't even in that position to have to kick field. So that's another thing in itself that was refreshing. But overall, it was a big win, great win for the Dallas Cowboys. I'd like to thank everyone for listening again. If you have any questions about the show, go ahead and send us an email at thestarchronicles@mail.com, or you can give us a follow at thestar_chronicles on Instagram. Go ahead and send us an Instagram message in our DM, and we'll certainly address you on the show. And might even give you a shout out and stuff. How would you like that? That would be fantastic. I know I'd be happy. I'd be so happy. I wouldn't even know what to do with myself. I'd be dancing all up and down the hallway. But today in the news, it seemed like all of my social media, everyone's like posting about Tank Lawrence and the issue with not signing the autograph for the child. And what is your thoughts on that? Because I'll let you just go ahead with your thoughts on it to begin with.
Here's the deal. This is the most ridiculous conversation I have had today, and I've had it more than one time. If you, as a parent, have your child dressed in another team's stuff from head to toe, you have to be a better parent and not shove them out in the line of sight and in the walkway to a professional athlete and put them in that position. The post that I saw was I feel like it was a full-on setup, because they're videotaping, the whole thing goes down, and they post it pure trash or something talking about Tank. And first, I have 2 opinions on it. One is, whether or not that's a kid or a parent, every human being has the right to not have their personal space, violated. And I understand as a professional athlete, that's kind of what you sign up for that, whatever. I get it. He is clear, but especially if a kid or not, if you're dressed in all of Giants gear and the only thing you have for him to sign is the free towel that was on your seat at the stadium. No, I don't feel like he was wrong in saying, get the right jersey, son.
And, I'll take it one step further. The kid could have had a Cowboy jersey on and stuff, and if he wouldn't have signed it, I still wouldn't have cared. But that's just me, because they're pushing the kid out there for this autograph. And I mean, there's a place for autographs, especially as a professional football player or an actor or whatever. There's a place for it. Where they were heading to in that like security armored van, wherever it was, they had some other business to attend to.
Right. And if he'd have stopped for one, then there would have been
everybody 100 else.
Not just kids. And so then with him as an athlete, where does it end? Like, where then? Okay, so eventually you're going to have to say, I have to go, and someone is going to be pissed off.
Exactly. I mean, and we're both from the DFW area. How often do you see the Cowboys be out for like different events signing autographs?
It's all the time.
Exactly.
But I see him in normal people places where, and we saw him at breakfast. A matter of fact, it was Tank and it was his girlfriend at the time. Now it's his wife. And then Tyrone Crawford and his wife. And we were just at breakfast, and my friends were like, you got to go over there and get the autograph. I'm like, they are eating breakfast. Mm-hmm. No, I'm absolutely not going over there to interrupt a regular Saturday brunch for them. Absolutely not.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen players at restaurants and stuff too. Remember Chris Canty? He played, what was it, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Yep. I saw him at that Red Lobster down there off of 35. He was eating. I sat right next to him. I didn't sit there and ask him for anything. I've sat with Drew Pearson, watching high school football players. And my son was doing like these different drills and stuff. And we sat there, had a great conversation. I wasn't going to ask that man for an autograph, even though he's like
Drew's one of the nicest human beings I've ever met.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
very personable, but I'm not going to go over the line for autograph. But if you're sitting there, he's very friendly. He will talk to you,
Well, and the problem with the Tank video for me was the way that mother pushed her kid out there and was like, go, go, go. I would never, if there's a place where you can go stand and the kids can get autographs that's like a designated area, that's one thing. But to be, borderline disrespectful at that point by pushing him out there. I just felt like it was shady all the way around from the woman's standpoint, and the kid didn't know any better. I mean, and then to call him out like that, I just think is so incredibly suspect, especially because it's Giants fans. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, well, I just think, to me, the whole thing was just a non-issue. It just seems like that's what social media decided to talk about today, because, and it goes back to the lights being brighter here. The magnifying glass is always, it's always going to be on this team. And if that happens in Buffalo, nobody even says anything. Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's just, I don't know, with all the other things that are going on in this world right now that needs to be discussed, people are going to sit there and waste their whole day posting what Tank Lawrence did, and either they're against it or he's a savage, and he's not a savage, because guess what? We could be a fly on the wall around several celebrities are going to walk by people wanting an autograph. So are they all savages too? No, it's called they got busy and they got things to do. So let's drop that whole notion also. Exactly.
He just finished playing for 4 quarters. Had probably been in treatment for 30 or 45 minutes. Probably had family in town. Maybe had an appearance obligation. Like, you have no idea where he was walking, and you have no idea what you're going to open up if he signs one.
Exactly.
And then on the flip side of that, had he bent over to sign that for a kid wearing Giants gear, he is going to get killed by a majority of our fan base for that. So
exactly. And
he was in a no-win situation, and I support him 1,000% in that.
Me too. I had somebody ask me, it's like, well, if you're a celebrity, what would you do? I was like, man, I barely like people's posts and stuff. You can already imagine what I'm going to do. I ain't going to sign the kid's autograph either. So,
Mhm.
I mean,
I'm gonna have on sunglasses and headphones and pretend like I don't hear anybody.
yeah, I'm gonna be like that guy, like the beach commercials and stuff, where they're like all off in like another place, like walking, wherever they're heading. That's how I'm gonna be.
Mhm. Exactly.
I mean, so I just don't get it. What do you think about the overall presentation of the game? Because I do know that there's some people that are pro a certain particular player, former Dallas Cowboy player, and some are for a Dallas Cowboy player. What are your thoughts?
It's fine. They're absolutely not my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you're talking about Joe and Troy.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about Troy and Joe. I don't really concern myself with Joe much.
Well, it's fine. I just feel like Troy irritates me. I will say he finally said something that I was like, okay, I don't have a problem with him when the Cowboys are terrible or whatever. I have zero problem with him being honest about the struggles that are going on.
You don't because you're a rational Dallas Cowboy fan with some common sense.
But what I do have a problem with is him stating the obvious. Like he'll say something to the effect of, let me think of one he said the other day, because I said it. We were at a bar watching the game and I said, oh, thanks, Captain Obvious. It'll be like, well, Dak needs to throw the ball to the receiver's hands. Well, no, really? I mean, that's not what he said, but it's something that obvious. And I'm like, well, or something like, a running back should hold on to the ball. You think?
Mm-hmm.
But did you hear him say the other day when he said, this is the most talented team that he's seen since he played?
Yeah.
I will give him some kudos for.
And he said that on the national broadcast because during dress rehearsal, or not the dress rehearsal, the last game with Emmett and Michael Irvin, they were just saying the most talented they've seen, basically, but we're not going to say more than us.
Right. Yeah,
And
they would never. Even if it was, they would never say that.
But I think our listeners and just people in general that hate on Troy, I just don't know what you expect of the man. I mean, he's a national broadcaster. He can't sit up there and be pro Cowboy 24/7. It does not work that way at the level that he's at. Now, local broadcast is far different than what you might hear.
Well, but he's always a national broadcast. I mean, he's Fox and he's the A team on Fox. But so do they also get mad at Tony when Tony has to do it when he's calling the CBS games?
They haven't yet, but they're going to, because no one got mad at Troy at first neither. Just wait. Give it 2 years. And you know what? It's just my personal preference. I think Romo's great, but I still enjoy listening to Aikman better at this current state and time, because Romo, yes, is engaging and is entertaining, but at the same time, it starts getting too all shucks darn for me at the same time also. So I kind of like Aikman more at this point. And at the end of the day, I still express to listeners. I mean, I listen to this man every week on the ticket. And I'm not supposed to be advertising any other shows, but if you're going to listen to a radio program and you live in the DFW, go ahead and check out 13ticket.com on Tuesdays at 7:55. Troy Aikman's interviewed every week. And the man's still a diehard Cowboy fan. He still loves Dallas. And he's still a supporter of the team. He just can't be what you want him to be on that national broadcast. You just got to let that sink in. Because it's a job to call it.
Well, yeah, and I think what needs to be explained too is that because some of the fan base will be like, well, Michael Irvin's not afraid to be a homer. Well, Michael Irvin's not a color commentator either.
No, in all the shows
he's not calling the games. He is doing the pregame. And if you watch any of the pregame shows now, Michael Strahan's not afraid to be a homer with the Giants. Tony Gonzalez is not afraid to be a homer with the Falcons or the Chiefs. Terry Bradshaw even. Howie, all of them, you can tell where they, you can tell that they lean towards the teams that they used to play for.
Yes.
And that's the difference. Troy and Tony have to be a little bit above board because they are actually calling the game. If you watch any kind of college football, you will see on College Game Day when Kirk Herbstreit is calling a particular game, he is not allowed to pick a winner, because then that sets a bias. Same with these national broadcasters like that. So,
I mean, even looking at it again, comparing Troy Aikman to Tony Romo, I mean, Tony Romo would have more legit reasons to hate the Dallas Cowboy franchise than Troy Aikman probably would ever have.
Yeah.
Look at it that way. You're talking.
Definitely.
You're looking at a man that. I mean, I know people's like, well, he's just giving his advice. He's a know-it-all. The man has 3 Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the most. Even with 3 Super Bowls, people look at Starbuck at higher regards than him. I'm willing to say Troy Aikman might be the best quarterback we ever had.
Yeah, I'd probably go with that too. I'd go with that.
I mean, the man just doesn't get a fair shake. Yes, he grew up in California. So, of course, most people, I know I didn't. I grew up a Cowboy fan. But on the whole, most people, they follow their state team. So he liked the Rams as a child. Big whoop-de-doo. So when he makes a comment about the Rams, people lose their mind. Well, the Rams were just in the NFC Championship game and went to the Super Bowl last year, people. So, yeah, there is some people in the league or people that analyze the games are going to assume that they're contenders this year. There's going to be people that's going to put the Saints up there. And there's some people who are putting the Cowboys up there too. But don't expect like Aikman or Romo or anybody's people just to go ahead and anoint the Cowboys all of a sudden. It might not happen. If it doesn't happen, it's okay. It's just an opinion.
Yeah, and I think week 1 showed me that, in my very most humble opinion, hands down, the 2 strongest top to bottom, front to back rosters. And, that being good on paper doesn't translate, ask Cleveland.
Well, coaching is going to be the next question for them. Because you can't have that much talent in an NFL team and just look like that.
Well, the other thing that goes to coaching, they had 18 penalties for 182 yards. That's discipline in coaching right there. But the hands down, in my opinion, after watching week 1, the 2 strongest teams in the NFC are in our division.
Our division?
Yeah, it's us in Philly.
You really think so?
I do. And I watched a lot of football this weekend. I think the Saints look, and maybe again, I'm gonna kind of tame that and say, okay, let's see what week 2 looks like. But
because we can't say none of us sat down and watched no Saints preseason football, no dress rehearsals. I ain't watching.
Well, I don't watch any preseason, but I'm saying let me. They were vulnerable last night, and Drew Brees. The minute Houston went up with 37 seconds to go, and Drew had 1 timeout. I knew it wasn't over at that point. You gave Drew too much time, and sure enough, he did. He picked him apart, and part of that was Houston's defensive play calling was terrible. But New Orleans looks beatable. The Rams, I mean, they played well, but then they let them back in, and the Rams look beatable. And And there was, even on the NFL Network, they said that the fact that Philly and Dallas have to play each other twice will determine who's going to be the front runner in the NFC. It sucks that we're both in the same division, but I also thought Philly looked vulnerable in the first half against the Redskins.
Oh, they absolutely did.
So, Carson Wentz finally settled in, and I don't think Deshaun Jackson can play that well every single game. But
me neither, because I was actually thinking about drafting him flex on my fantasy football team.
I did go pick him up.
Did you put him flex or actually receiver?
I'll keep him at flex because my receiving core is pretty solid.
Yeah, funny note with me, I whooped my opponent's tail by like 70 points, and I didn't even start Sam Watkins.
Oh.
That was 40 points I basically left up there that I could have had still.
Yeah, one of my guys that I work with, his son had 125 points on his bench.
Jesus.
He had Watkins on the bench. He had, oh my gosh, who was the other one that he had? Yeah, but he had 125 points on his bench. Mm-hmm. That would make me sick. I mean, that would.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I was concerned when I didn't start him. All of a sudden, I seen for 5 minutes, 6 minutes in the game, Sam Watkins 2 touchdowns, 5 billion yards. I'm like, what's going on? but let's talk about the Eagles just in contents of. I saw this on social media, and I know I threw this out at you guys during the game when the Redskins were up. And then all of a sudden you got all these people just down in the Eagles posting all this nonsense, which I mean, I think anybody that knows me, I'm not one to talk trash about anyone's team because I don't have enough energy to care about your team.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. I don't care. They could be sucking it up every day, but the last thing you're going to see me doing is making a post about it on social media. Because again,
I for sure will. I will talk bad about somebody's team in a heartbeat.
But
not until the game is over, and not until my game is over.
Exactly.
And if my game is over, that's why I hate playing the 3:30 game, because I have to be quiet until after that.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, the football gods is the reason why the Eagles play or won. If there is,
no doubt.
Is there such thing as a football gods? Because they look out on their little Facebooks and saw all these people posting, "What's going on with the Eagles?" Ha ha ha! And then at the same time, there's a level of class and stuff here too, because you complain about the Eagles fans being trash, which I do agree with that, but you don't do yourself any justice by doing the same exact thing. And we're Cowboys fans, and there's a higher level of class with us than everybody else. That's the reason why we're America's team.
Okay, but let's call it what it is. There's a big damn difference in talking trash about somebody else's team on social media and being ingrate human beings in person like the Philly fans are.
That's true too. But as of late, the last couple of seasons, we have seen fights with Cowboy fans with other people.
And they were talking about that on the national, the NFL note, or one of them. I think it was, I don't know if it was this morning, but they were talking about like now there's one. No, I think it was on the Fan. They were talking about there's kind of one corner when you're leaving a game, and it's probably those people that we've talked about before. We're not going to mention their names, but it's that group that we talk about. You know, that gives the fan base a really bad reputation.
I mean, we just have a higher level of class. I mean, like us old school fans, that level of class is what we all fell in love with to make us want to be Cowboy fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, professionalism of Tom Landry and just everything, the way they operated and stuff. I mean, that's what we all fell in love with in a lot. Some of these fans, these young knuckleheads, and some of these older knuckleheads, where I wonder where their children are at, where they're doing all this stuff. They're making us overall look bad. You know, I just don't like it. You know, I just don't like it at all. I mean, I don't like this where you can be a Cowboy fan, you have a different opinion from everybody else, and all of a sudden, you know, oh, well, let's go ahead and attack this one Cowboy fan. Mm-hmm. You know, so let's go pile up on them. I mean, there's nothing cool about that. I mean, we all have our own opinions. We're not saying that we hate the Cowboys. We're just saying, like, well, Matt Castle's not going to come in here and provide spark to the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, the one that gets yelled at, he's the one that's raising his hand right here. No one can see me, but I'm raising my hand, and everyone wants to look at me like I'm crazy. I mean, I'm just saying he's played for like 15 other teams before he went to the Cowboys. So what makes you think he's going to provide spark? I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, it is what it is. But I just think as a fan, we do need to, like, we just have a higher level of class.
I don't really, though.
I do. I'm just too much. I'm just so dead serious about it.
Well, but mine's not ugly. Like, mine's all in good fun, and it's mainly just teams. Like, to me, the Eagles, I mean, I think they're going to be a factor in just determining, like, the long-term success of this team. But, like, I don't really have I have a couple of Philly fan friends, but, like, my you know, digs and prods are mostly at, like, my brother-in-law because he's a Bears fan, my brother because he is a Texan fan, and then I have some really good friends that are Giants fans. So it's really like that. I mean, but mine's not like personal. Like I'm not.
No, that's what some of these individuals will do.
Yeah, and that's not my style.
And it's just ridiculous. I mean, like I said before, I mean, I'll go on Sunday and I'll look down my Facebook feed. Tell who you got, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. It's the Cowboys playing. I don't care. And then like all these stupid nicknames. There's the Jays. What, are you 5? But you get ticked off when someone says the Cowgirls or something. But you're going to turn around and do the same thing.
Yeah,
but you're going to turn around and do the same thing. I mean, it's just stupid. Just grow up. We're not all meant to like the same team, but we are America's team, and there's more fans of us than there is everybody else. So you might think that's cocky, but we're worth $5 billion, so I'm not lying.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if we're not the greatest franchise known to mankind and stuff, we don't have the greatest fan base. Where's the $5 billion come from?
Exactly.
So it's not even an argument. So I know people in Wisconsin be like, "Oh, we're America's team." No, you're Wisconsin's team. Pittsburgh be like, "Oh, we're America's team." Between Philly, no one even knows whose team is if you're Pennsylvania's team or not.
Right.
Not even an argument. So please just stop. It's just reality. I mean, don't kill the messenger, but the statistics just don't lie.
Right.
But that's all I really have this evening. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with the listeners?
No, I'm just pleasantly surprised. Not surprised. I'm really, really happy with the calm and the fast start. And now we can put a pretty little bow on that one, put it on the shelf, and go on to the next one. And hopefully it'll be the same. So we're going to be, we travel this week. I don't know what time is the game at 3:30 again.
I hope so, but no, it's actually at noon, which that's going to be a challenge for me.
Praise the Lord.
Because I'm coming from Austin that morning. So yeah, that's going to be a challenge. So
we'll just turn it on the fan and listen to Brad Sham. He's good.
Oh, wait a second. No.
Listen,
I got YouTube TV. I can watch it on my phone.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I can just watch it on my phone. That'll work. That will work. So yeah, I'm just going to say a prediction. Well, you guys already know our predictions. Everybody across the board on our show, we all predicted the Cowboys basically to beat the Redskins. But I'm just going to say we're going to straight punch them in the mouth. Simple as that.
Yeah, my only concern about the game this weekend is that Adrian Peterson's going to have to play now. And I think he's got a spark lit under his butt because he was a healthy scratch last weekend. So I'm a little bit concerned about that, but not terribly. I still think we win going away, but that's the one thing that kind of gives me some angst because, he didn't play last weekend at all. And so we don't really have, maybe we know what he can do. We've seen him for a lot of years. So
how old is he now?
He's probably 34, maybe 35.
Yeah. He's going to end up becoming, what was the guy that we had who used to be awesome for Tennessee, and then we picked him up for a couple of seasons?
Eddie George.
Yeah, that's who he's getting ready to become.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it was weird that he was a healthy scratch last week, and it pissed off a lot of the veterans on their team. They thought it was like a slap in the face. So I feel like there's going to be that initial extra oomph to for him. But then I think ultimately, I just think we have more talent. So.
Yep. Talent and apparently was legitimate coaching or proper coaching or smart coaching now makes all the difference. So yeah, we're gonna just punch them dead in the throat next week.
Absolutely, and then I hope that the Miami game is not a trap game because then we go to New Orleans. So
well, there's people supposedly demanding to be traded from that team, so who knows?
That's a hot mess right there.
It might not even be a team and stuff, but it might have traded.
Yeah. They already traded away their best. They traded away their best offensive player when they let their left tackle go.
Yeah, it's a dumpster fire over there. But anyways, on behalf of myself and Lisa, we wish you guys a pleasant evening. Thanks again for listening into the show. Don't forget to go ahead and shoot us a message at @the_Chronicles over on IG. And if you have a question for it, we'll gladly address it on the show, even give you a shout out. But we're out for this evening, people. Say bye to the people, Lisa.
Have a great week.
We'll holla and go Cowboys in my big fancy stadium.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.